Okay, Jacqui Briggs. Let's take a look at her. 5 hand size, 33 vitality. Air, life, water. R. After your opponent's combat phase begins, draw 3 cards and discard down to your printed hand size. E. Your non-throw tech attack. It's powerful 6. You can discard a card in your hand in addition to your momentum to pay for the powerful ability. So, what can she do? She can dump her hand out and always be able to draw 3 cards afterwards. Well, not always. Anything that can cancel a draw effect is really going to put a hamper on her. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff out there says non-character on it, but that's starting to get left out more and more, so you definitely need to watch out for that. Things that cancel responses straight up are also gonna plug her up, and unfortunately, quite a few of the things that stop responses can also come fresh out of the hand and don't even give you... they're not sitting in the foundation area, they're not sitting in your staging area, you can't see them in advance, so she's going to have a bit of a flaw there. However, when you can optimize a build around her, you can functionally operate as an 8 hand size. The downside of this is that the 3 cards you're drawing are mostly going to be blind. There are things you can do to compensate for that, but you're still going to be drawing 3 cards blind. So yes, you can play very aggressively on your 5 cards and then draw into 3 and still maintain blocks if your deck is built in that manner. Right? If your deck has a very low non-block count and your block coverage is good, yeah, totally, you can play that way. It's going to be one of those things where you're kind of going to have to accommodate her abilities. You kind of have to supplement them a little bit before you take advantage of them. You can't just fall back on them and think they're just going to carry you on their own accord. These aren't those kind of abilities, all right? Draw effects tend to be fragile just to start out with. They're incredibly powerful, and as such, they're usually given a little bit more hate. All right. So just think about those kind of things when you're playing as Jacqui. Are you going to play that super aggressively, or are you going to play a little bit more reserved with this? And then, I don't know. It's difficult too because she wants to run tech stuff, and there's not a lot in terms of reversals for the tech package. So the draw 3 cards on the off turn really wants to play into a reversal strategy, but her other ability doesn't want to play into a reversal strategy. So again, you're kind of looking at more using that 3 card draw as a defensive. The other side of the 3 card draw is it also lets you see cards. You're just seeing more cards, right? So you can use that during your review step. So even just the benefit of being able to see more, review more, sculpt hands better, that alone has a strength in and of itself. Don't forget that aspect of it too. So there's a value there. But looking down at her E, your non-throw tech attack gets powerful 6. The non-throw clause gets put on a lot of things nowadays. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it's too crazy. Well, with this one I can see it because throw and powerful 6 obviously is going to crush people, but there's so many ways to just stop throws now. There's a lot of throw hate running around, but it's a matter of personal opinion, I guess. Powerful 6, fantastic. Because she's a 5 hand size, she can't really push aggressively on her own turn. Not nearly as well. Like, you're not going to be doing these turns where you can just barf out gigantic strings of attacks. They might happen if your deck is designed around that, but as a 5 hand size, she doesn't naturally want to do that, right? Because you're seeing the majority of the cards, or not the majority, you're seeing 5 during your turn and then the additional 3 during the off turn. So it's not like you can utilize that 8 card view per turn cycle all aggressively, right? Like you can't quite pick and choose that well. So that kind of strategy is out the window. You can't really just bar stuff out, try to find your opening, dump the damage on the opening, and then go through. You need a little bit more of a defined strategy. So you kind of need to, within a smaller card count during your turn, devise a strategy in order to deliver damage. There are methods to give your tech stuff throw after the fact, and that is going to be one of the paths to victory with Jacqui. She's going to have some of the stuff in her own kit. I know she's got a way to give her tech stuff reversals, which is going to be great. I believe it's a deadlock effect. But she doesn't have a natural delivery system, and she's drawing cards blind. Those are the 2 things you're going to have to kind of work around when you're designing her, right? When you're building a deck around her, those are the two things you kind of got to keep in mind. So I need to come up with a plan of how I'm going to best utilize a 3-card blind draw on the off turn. And I need to figure out a way to deliver the damage that I can put out. You need to think about those two things. Otherwise, you can put all the damage you want on things. If your opponent's just going to slap it out of the air every time, it's pointless, right? Same thing. If you're drawing 3 cards in the off turn, but they're not valuable to you and you're not being able to utilize them, it's useless, right? And I never want to just take the assumption that everyone just knows exactly what to do and exactly what to build and exactly how to use these characters, right? These are things that you have to think about. So things that are going to be helpful, even just looking at that response that you're drawing 3 cards, the card in and of itself, regardless of what you draw, can be used as a resource. There are lots of effects out there that are just simple discard draw effects, right? So even with additional filters, there's cards that are just discard to reduce damage, discard to do whatever. Those kind of things, just the tangible card itself has value. Don't forget that. There are effects that kind of can use cards as value. Those kind of things would be great because it takes this 3-card blind draw and now you always have a fallback option for it. So another thing to keep in mind while you're doing that, right? Obviously she wants to run a tech package because that's how everything's going to go, because that's how she's going to deliver damage onto things. But don't forget that you can always run stuff that's non-tech if it's part of a plan to support your tech stuff, right? Don't be afraid to run non-tech attacks that are going to help you deliver the damage for your tech stuff. It's just, again, you're going to have to look at ways to accommodate those abilities and then look at ways at how you're going to abuse those abilities afterwards, right? That's kind of how I have to build these kind of characters, at least in my head. That's at least how I would approach Jacqui. So hopefully that insight gives you a little bit more towards her, and hopefully that helps you out. Until next time.